Just get out of the car.
But what?
And now I don't want you to look, but there is a dead man in the back seat.
A story with ups.
During the 80s, Moonlighting was one of the classic series. It was amusing and struck the right balance between action and romance. For many actors, it was their second chance at a comeback. Despite the struggles, the movie was one of ABC's many highlights. Let's have a look at 20 weird facts about this series you didn't know about. You'd be shocked these facts existed. Stay tuned. Number 20. Short fame time. Many critics said Moonlighting was great during its heyday. They described Moonlighting as a candle that shines brightly for a short period of time before burning out. The production couldn't sustain the buzz and high ratings they got from the film. Although Bruce was new to the movie industry and Cybill was well established in her career, their feature as co-stars had a short run. Regardless of it fading out of the spotlight, it was a great hour of entertainment. There were so many notes to pick from Moonlighting. They portrayed two characters who were equally flawed, equally vulnerable, and equally fabulous in their own quirky way.
Story with ups and downs.
Maddie and David made the series fascinating to watch. David's sense of humor was a perfect blend for Maddie's comebacks. Viewers saw how much two opposite partners could find their way to each other. David portrayed an overly egotistical male, while Maddie was the ice queen, but they both evolved and became open to each other's influence. Number 19. Star actors' breakout roles. Another notable aspect of the show is the emergence of some outstanding actors in the film industry. Did you know the network said no 11 times before they finally agreed to the casting of Bruce? It's true. Before the series, he had worked as an extra and in an off-Broadway role. Hence, Bruce Willis earned his spotlight moments from Moonlighting. Before this, his only credit was as Tony Amato in an episode of Miami Vice. No one knew who the actor was, and he didn't even know Moonlighting was going to be that moment of stardom. How did we know? By how his audition went. It seemed Bruce was not in his genius that day. It was one of those days when you lazily get out of bed because you have to, and not because you want to. Bruce arrived at his audition with a punk hairstyle and earrings. Hilarious, right? Can you imagine Bruce of the 80s? Cybill recalled him in an army outfit, and he couldn't have looked more uninterested than she described. Unlike other men who auditioned for the lead role, Bruce was calm and collected. He didn't go out of his way to impress her, and he mostly avoided eye contact throughout the audition, speaking only to the producer, Glenn Caron. After he left the room, she told Glenn that Bruce was the right fit for the character of David. He got the role, and he gave it the best performance we could ever have imagined. Cybill and Bruce received Emmy nominations for their roles in Moonlighting. Bruce won an award and became a big star. Number 18. Comic relief and reviews. It was the viewers' favorite show on television. Many confessed it was unlike any series they had seen. They loved that it was part detective drama, part romantic comedy. Everyone gave Glenn Gordon his credits for a well-written and executed project. Fans said he threw the rulebook out the window and brought a unique cast to his production. They enjoyed the way the cast spoke to the audience mid-scene and acknowledged their fictional existence. It provided viewers with a more personal experience. As for humor, Glenn did justice to the film, with multiple scenes packed with comic moments.
For your name and your money, not you. You think I want some blonde ball fluff following me around?
What? You are...
Some viewers didn't know when they laughed at the intelligent jokes and well-constructed scenes. It's what it feels like to watch one of Glenn's productions. Do you know what took viewers out? It's the impressive comebacks to the jokes. The part where the main characters spoke at the same time for an extended period? That wasn't regular action for movies. However, Glenn found a way to make it work. The banters between the cast were one of the highlights for viewers. There are so many overly dramatic series stuffed with humor that's not appropriate. However, Moonlighting reminds us that you can have a good movie with the right amount of action and thrill. They kept it at what it was, a television series, and ensured the viewers went on this journey with them. It was creative and entertaining. It's one of the original shows ever to hit the screen. Despite the disagreement, production delays, and even a dip in the ratings, you can't take the credits from this series. It was a great production that both the older and younger generations love. Number 17. Reviews. When it was first released in 1985, no one projected 5 seasons. The crew had planned for just 6 episodes. It was an instant hit when it got out. Everyone loved Cybill Shepherd. The singer and former model brought the spotlight to Moonlight after the original 6 episodes of Moonlighting. Fans and critics could agree that the series was magical. The witty dialogue between the cast and compelling storylines made it easy for the production to develop the principal characters. Although the investigations were entertaining, it was just another way to drive the chemistry between Maddie and David. Without the investigations, the plot and storyline wouldn't have been perfect and engaging. Investigations like the Anselmo case gave geeky viewers something to pine over. Those who enjoyed spotting details could appreciate the subtle touches that were casually added as the episodes progressed. The New York Times had something to say about Moonlighting. They called it the most significant television phenomenon of 1985, with 2 leads who had irresistible chemistry. Fans all agree that the series broke new ground for television and remains a loved series. They applauded the creativity of breaking the fourth wall and allowing the characters to talk directly to the audience. It was all part of the joke, and it was fun to watch. In an interview with the Television Academy, Cybill had a lot to say about the series. It was fantastic. It's like a real finality and reality about it. Although the show had 16 nominations without notable wins, it still stands as one of the best screen series in history. Number 16. The Moonlighting Curse. Have you ever heard of the Moonlighting Curse? Yes, it came from the series. It's a term used to describe when a hit show seems to lose its touch, ratings, and streams. For Moonlighting, it happened after the lead actors consummated their love. This is a downhill move from what the show's producers expected. The tension between Maddie and David kept the viewers on the edge of their seats. They loved every banter, the side stares, and the romance that brewed between them. This gave the producers ideas. They thought the lead actors working out a relationship would be the highlight the series needed, but the response from the viewers showed them it was the wrong move. The show lost its creative after the release, as some viewers believed there was nothing more to see. There was no more suspense building up for another season. To this day, many people wonder how consummating their relationship became a downhill slope. It was the wrong twist for the movie. Some audience members said that the 2 leads finally getting together after years of tension was the final nail in the coffin for the series. Number 15. The show's producer, Glenn Gordon Caron, created Moonlighting. Lots of kudos to him. He had worked on other exceptional projects, including NBC's Remington Steele. It was also a detective series. You now see why ABC wanted him to create a crime series. In his words, he said the network asked him to make one of those boy-girl detective shows. I, like everybody else my age at that time, wanted to make movies, but you kind of can only go where they'll have you. At that moment in time, the place that would have me was television. So I thought, well, I'm going to do television as if it were a movie. There was a lot of pressure on Glenn to perform. Had Moonlight failed, it would have been his 3rd strike, and that meant he would be off his contract with ABC. He had signed to provide 3 pilots, but they turned down the first 2. Had they refused 3rd pilots, Glenn might have been seeking other employment. Glenn wasn't keen on the idea of working on another detective film until ABC informed him that he would have free control over the show. In an interview, he expressed his excitement over veto power. I thought, all right, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to lampoon it. I wanted to do a show that'll just kill the genre. Number 14. A possible love story. Fans said the chemistry between the Moonlighting actor was real, and they weren't entirely wrong. The electric banter and tension portrayed by the lead actors wasn't only written into the script. Their on-screen chemistry kept the viewers glued. Cybill also affirmed this. She said, "We had fights all the time. That was part of the preparation for the scenes. It worked up to it, so it was real." The actress also admitted that she couldn't stand Bruce for some reason. In her memoir, Cybill Disobedience, she wrote about their first meeting. "When he walked in the room, my temperature went up 10 degrees. There was a tension between them, but they decided to keep it cool while they were still working together. Sadly, the actors never pursued their feelings for each other. In 1987, Willis met and married Demi Moore while Cybill found a partner. Could there have been unresolved issues between them? Why didn't they pursue their love story? Is this why they never saw eye to eye backstage? There are so many questions left unanswered. Well, both actors have moved past that, and they created an epic show. Number 13. The wrong storyline. What if we tell you the detective plot wasn't the original plan? Shocking, right? The creator never thought of Moonlighting as that kind of film, and even when the idea was pitched to him, he still didn't want to do it. After the first 2 pilots, he proposed to ABC, but it didn't get their attention. The network president told the creator to make a detective show. It sounded absurd. It wasn't part of the plan, so how was a detective film going to be the game changer? Glenn said his eyes rolled to the top after he heard the president say America needed another detective show. However, there were already too many of them. The creator felt he would be putting out another cliché movie if he chose to go with Glenn, who wasn't ready to back down. After much persuasion, he bought into Glenn's idea on the condition that some romance scenes would be added to give a new flair to the detective series. Number 12. The plot. Cybill Shepherd starred as a recently bankrupt former model, Madeline "Maddie" Hayes. She woke up one day to discover her accountant had eloped with the fortune she made as a fashion model. While trying to sell everything she owns, she found the agency was purchased for her as a tax write-off, the Blue Moon Detective Agency. There, she met David Addison Jr., who Bruce Willis played. He persuaded her to keep the agency. They become partners in the 6th episode of the series. The rest of the scenes capture a lot of William Shakespeare's beautiful work. It was mixed with comedy and so much drama. Many people are unaware of the extent to which Shakespeare inspired Moonlighting. Glenn said the historical play was an emotional inspiration for the movie. He got the idea to adopt the play after he'd watched his wife perform in a production of it in college. After watching her 8 times, he was convinced that it was the movie he wanted to create. When I graduated from college and was living in New York City, I saw Meryl Streep and Raul Julia perform it in Central Park. So the bones of the idea of 2 people who seem incredibly attracted to each other, save for the fact that they agree on nothing and have completely different worldviews. I thought that's really interesting, and you don't see that very often, Glenn said. In his words, I've been trying to keep that a secret, you know. Moonlighting was sort of a rip-off of Taming of the Shrew and always was. The play was specifically parodied in the 3rd season episode, Atomic Shakespeare. There you have it. Again, Shakespeare influenced another great production. It was an hour long for each episode of the series. It took a great deal of work, but the crew was up to the task. The executive director, Jay Daniel, also spoke about the efforts that went into preparation for the production. It really was an undertaking. We knew a few weeks earlier that we were going to do the Shakespeare episode, so wardrobe and props, while they were working on the various episodes that led up to it, were also working on the wardrobe for that episode. Number 11. Movie records. Jeff Reno, the scriptwriter, spoke about the masterpiece they created. Every word of that script is a first draft. It went through no rewrites, no changes. The show started shooting after we had only finished 3 acts. I remember writing just ahead of the camera. Karen Hall, a writer who assisted Jeff with his flowers, said, "I have to brag on Jeff because that was almost a first draft that they shot. They had something like 3 or 4 days to write it. I always thought what they did was just miraculous. How do you go into your office in 3 days and write a perfect script?" By its 3rd season, the series became a popular culture icon. There was nothing as thrilling as Moonlighting. Blogs tried to get traffic on their site by referencing the series. They called out some of the actors and even speculated on the tension behind the scenes. Amidst the rumors, the series continued to thrive. Week to week, there was a new episode on the channel. Sometimes ABC had to admit its faults for missed deadlines. The demand for the series was high, and the budget kept rising. The most publicized episode, in which Maddie and David had an intimate affair, drew over 60 million viewers. The most famous episode of the series was shot in 18 days. It became the most expensive hour of television produced at the time. The production coordinator, Suzanne Gangursky, discussed the massive scale of production required. They needed all the hands they could get. A lot of effort went into creating the series. From my end, It was hiring practically every additional talent in town for wardrobe and hair. It was done on such a massive scale. You felt like you were walking onto a major motion picture set. You didn't feel like you were walking on a weekly television show set. We were working at the Court of Miracles on Universal's backlot, instead of our home studio at Fox. We were doing interiors in one place and exteriors in another, which again felt like a feature film rather than a television series. The huge ratings of Moonlighting can be considered as Super Bowl-size ratings. Number 10. Theme songs. Did you know Moonlighting inspired Billy Joel to write a song? It's true, and we'll tell you all about it. He wrote Big Man on Mulberry Street with the series in mind. It's one of the many highlights of Moonlighting that Glenn loves to recount. For him, such moments brought special memories. The show's music producer, Phil Ramone, told him that a megastar in the 80s wrote a song while thinking of his show. He didn't wait for Phil to ask if he wanted to hear it. He was eager to listen to what Billy had created. After he listened to a 9-minute version of Big Man on Mulberry Street, he had a brilliant idea. I'd always wanted to do storytelling through dance, Karen said. Yes, he turned it into a musical number. It wasn't easy, but he found a way to work it into an episode. He invited the famous Singin' in the Rain co-director Stanley Donen to choreograph the scene in Season 3. You might already know what scene it is. If you don't, well, here it is. Remember that scene where Maddie imagines a nightclub romance gone wrong after she discovered David's relationship with his former partner? That's when Glenn got his wish of making a musical number. The song also featured on Joel's album, The Bridge, in 1986. Glenn also titled the episode after Joel's music. How cool is that? Isn't it beautiful to see how the ideas brew in creating such an epic show? Even Willis recounted his Moonlighting memories of the musical. I was the lamest one in there because I had to learn how to dance. I didn't move well at all. Al Jarreau performed another theme song that fans haven't stopped listening to. They believe it's still a great song to listen to. Number 9. The lead cast of the show. You might not believe this, but if it wasn't Cybill Shepherd as Maddie, no one could have played the role. Cybill was the center of attention after her role in Peter Bogdanovich's The Last Picture Show. Glenn said he realized he was writing Maddie with Cybill in mind 50 pages into the pilot. He knew Cybill was the perfect cast for his project. I had to have somebody the public was fundamentally rooting against because the show was about the thawing out of this beautiful ice queen. I knew the public saw her as spoiled and bratty. Glenn recounted in his interview with the New York Times in 1986. Although he had been confident about his female lead, he was tongue-tied at their first meeting. Glenn and director Jay Daniel invited Cybill to a Los Angeles restaurant so they could talk about the part. The mere sight of her dressed in all white left Glenn speechless. Oh well, she got the part. The network wanted Cheryl Ladd for the female lead actor, as they had worked with her on Charlie's Angels and wanted to keep a contract with her. However, they had given Glenn control over the series, so he called the shot. Cybill was often shot with a diffusion disc, so she appeared as the lead characters usually did in the 40s films. Unlike Cybill, there were thousands of considered leads for the male role. Bruce Willis wasn't a top choice, and he almost didn't get the role. Glenn said ABC executives kicked against Bruce as the lead character. They were willing to pay him and Cybill off. They just wanted them off the project, mainly because they felt Bruce couldn't handle the role. Well, it's a different story today, isn't it? Number 8. Delivery time or short screen time. Like most series at the time, it received an order to produce 22 episodes per session, but they could only deliver 18 episodes for Season 2. One of the reasons for this was the structure of the scenes. Glenn told the New York Times that he took every episode as a little movie, and he gave his dedication to it. It didn't matter if it was 18 or 22 episodes. Glenn believed in doing a great job, and that he did. He also stated his reason for not meeting the target. Hour-long shows at the time had scripts that ran to 6 pages, but Moonlighting's could be twice as long because the characters talk so fast. You might be wondering how the characters picked up the talking pace. They picked their cue from comedies in the 30s and 40s. Bringing Up Baby and His Girl Friday were some of the comedies they emulated. The actors and crew worked around the clock to create Moonlighting. Cybill said she left her home at 5 a.m. each day. She was behind the scenes from the moment the camera began rolling. She said the actors were exhausted and no longer getting along towards the end of the series. Glenn also agreed with her in his commentary from the 2005 DVD release. When Cybill became pregnant, it made it even harder. I think she was hoping for an easier gig. The DVDs for Moonlighting are out of print because it was never released on Blu-ray. The series was once at the top of the Nielsen ratings. However, television series did not lock in long-term contracts for the use of songs. Even Disney, which now owns the series, might spend a vast fortune trying to get all the necessary music rights. Number 7. Disagreements over scenes. If you have ever heard of a friction between one of the show's stars and its creator, remember it's Cybill and Glenn. Some cast members got too personal with the series, and it turned into a huge argument. Cybill was against Maddie's sudden marriage. The storyline portrayed Maddie as impulsively marrying Walter Bishop, a man she had met on a train. Cybill knew there was something wrong with that, and she spoke up. A line in her book, Cybill Disobedience, reads, "When I strongly voiced my objection that the character we had created in Maddie would never do such a thing, Glenn said words to the effect of, 'Just shut up and do your job. You're not producing this show.' The actor had to take the hard blow and act the role even though she wasn't happy about it. Did it end there? No, it didn't. Glenn was later fired before the show's 5th and final season. The fans couldn't stop talking about it. Many of the crew members thought it was the wrong time to fire Glenn. He left in the midst of the off-camera chaos. Rumors made the rounds on the internet. Many speculated that he was taken off the show at Cybill's insistence. No one found out what really happened. In 2013, Bruce said he was open to a sequel as long as Glenn was involved. Cybill would likely want to come back with Glenn as its producer. Number 6. Scenes fans hated. Here's a fact. Episodes with Agnes de Pesto got lower ratings. You remember Agnes, don't you? She worked at the detective agency as a receptionist, but later began taking on cases of her own in an effort to lessen David and Maddie's workload. It's surprising, but the cast and crew observed that ratings dropped in episodes that featured her. The ratings dipped when viewers found out episodes were not going to feature David and Maddie. The show wasn't all about them, but viewers never understood that. They wanted enough screen time of their favorite cast. Alice Beasley played the role of Agnes, and she did a phenomenal job. Number 5. Projections that never happened. Glenn and Bruce never fulfilled their dream of doing a Western-themed episode before the series ended. "I think we always promised each other we'd do a Western, which we never really got around to doing," Glenn said. "They may be on a new project if they ever decide to work together." Did you know that Coca-Cola was meant to sponsor a 3D episode in the series? The company produced 40 million pairs of glasses, but a disagreement with the production led to the cancellation of the project. The company ended up handing out 20 million pairs of glasses for the 1989 Super Bowl halftime show. During the series, Bruce Willis got an offer to be in the 1988 film Die Hard. Glenn was against it. He had told Willis to turn down the offer, but he's glad that Bruce chose his path. Sometimes actors don't listen to you, and it's a good thing. Die Hard turned Willis into a movie star. Number 4. Behind-the-scenes chaos. Willis and Cybill argued on set. Who spilled this tea? Glenn did. He said the whole experience was chaotic, as both lead actors were at different phases of their careers. Willis had just begun his acting career and was excited by the prospect of doing the show. Cybill, on the other hand, was a movie diva and way ahead in her career. She also never anticipated the stress the show would put her through. The Moonlighting series was not an easy production, and the lead actors were in every frame, which meant they always had to be on set. It wasn't easy to get them there. She became pregnant during the course of production. It added to the challenges on set. She argued most about working 14 to 15 hours a day. The scripts also arrived late on most days, which created more tension between her and the other cast members. Sometimes Willis and Cybill got 10 pages of dialogue they had seen an hour before they had to perform it. These back and forths between the actors led to production delays. Remember the many episodes that included shots of Maddie's feet stepping off the elevator and walking to her office? What if we told you it was a repeated scene for Glenn? He was often working on scripts and constantly rewriting the series' storyline. Sometimes they began shooting without a finished script. Some of the dialogues were written hours before shooting, and series were often filmed days before airing. It's why the series never reached the usual 26 episodes per season. This made the production record a total of 66 episodes between 1985 and 1989. Episodes were delayed so many times that a promotional ad once featured an actor playing a network employee, waiting for the next episode to be delivered. The writers' strike also delayed season 5. Things got worse when Bruce had an accident during Cybill's pregnancy. Here's a shocking fact in Moonlighting. There's a highlight scene that had to make do with stunt doubles. Remember the scene where Maddie and David finally get together? The underground garage scenes involving Bruce, Cybill, and Mark Harmon were shot without the actors. Not once were all 3 of those actors there together. It was all doubles, trick shots, and somehow they had to go there 3 times to shoot one scene. This happened in the episode I Am Curious, Maddie. Number 3. Movie budget Moonlighting broke records as the most expensive primetime series on television in the 80s. Each Moonlighting installment was estimated to be worth $1.6 million. The dream sequence always rings twice. Episode cost $2 million. Suzanne Gangursky, the show's production coordinator, confirmed this. I would say the average episodes that were being made around then were around $9,000 for a 1-hour episode. It probably cost $2 million to $2.5 million, I am sure. It was easily double whatever anyone else had spent on an hour of television. I do know it was the most expensive hour of television at that time. So much money into production. Number 2. Sad Tales. Orson Welles' last feature was on Moonlighting. ABC didn't want to confuse its audience by airing an episode in black and white. They had Glenn reach out to Orson to help introduce the second season episode, The Dream Sequence Always Rings Twice. He thought Glenn's written intro was hilarious, but he agreed to work with that. On October 3, 1985, Orson shot the scene. He introduced the series episode to the audience. Tonight, broadcasting takes a giant leap backward. Nothing is wrong with your television set. Tonight's episode is an experiment. Sadly, the actor passed away 1 week later. Glenn said he was the nicest man and was so thrilled to be on the show. It was a shock to the production crew, as they never expected his demise. Heartfelt condolences poured out to his family. The Moonlighting crew was happy they got to see him before his demise. Director J. Daniel recalled how great an artist he was. Orson was a professional and didn't mind going for several takes until he got the perfect one. He said they miss his presence, but are comforted by the fact that the world gets to see his legacy. Number 1. The show's cancellation. The second and third seasons were the most loved by fans. They enjoyed the romantic triangle involving the guest actor Mark Harmon. However, fans wondered if the production could have done something different. Should they have ended the series after its second season? The show began facing challenges after its third season. There was so many demands from the television network. Fans were not happy that Herbert Viola, played by Curtis Armstrong, and Agnes DePesto were given entire episodes to themselves. Herbert Viola, a character brought into the agency in season 3, eventually becomes a junior detective and love interest for Agnes. There was no doubt that they were great actors, and their characters were fascinating. However, the viewers wanted the main characters of the show. The storyline had a valid reason for Maddie and David's disappearance. They had been fighting and not speaking to one another, so there was no episodes between them. To worsen it, fans lost interest after the lead actors had the long-anticipated scene. The production still went ahead with season 4. As usual, they gave a funny and original production, but something was wrong. The series had lost its sparkle. The errors and distasteful additions became more glaring to critics. They pointed out Cybill's pregnancy inclusion in the series in the 5th season opener, A Womb with a View. Critics said it was unwisely written into the show and should not have been the title of any episode. After Glenn left the series, fans couldn't take the news. It changed everything. The last blow was Bruce Willis's decision to quit the series. He found himself with an emerging career and wasn't happy about being confined to the series. Cybill's maternity leave didn't make it easy on Bruce. He often had to carry the entire episodes while she was absent. The lead actors weren't best buddies, with several discords as the show progressed. The viewers weren't behind the scenes, but they could sense that the house was divided within itself. They abandoned the show, and with that came low profits. Midway through season 5, the television network canceled the Moonlighting series. Despite its cancellation, fans are still celebrating the series' transition to streaming platforms, including Hulu. It's an extension of a great tradition of comedy. Despite Glenn's painful departure from the series, he's happy for the time he spends on Moonlighting. I hope people watch it and realize television isn't always about doing the same thing. It can perhaps be about doing a different thing. Moonlighting is a classic series with a fantastic cast and quirky behind-the-scenes secrets. What do you think about Moonlighting? Would the television network bring back a sequel? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.